This story of the Maya is one of mystery, brilliance, and tragedy. It is a tale about a civilization that reached for the stars, built monumental cities in the jungle, and mastered the sciences of time and the heavens. Yet in the end, it is also a story of silence, when the great voices of the Maya cities vanished, leaving only ruins and questions behind. The Maya were not a single kingdom, but a network of city-states stretching across present-day Mexico, Guatemala, Belize, Honduras, and El Salvador. Each city had its own kings, priests, and warriors, but all shared a common culture and language. They built towering pyramids, carved intricate glyphs, and aligned their temples with the stars. For centuries, the Maya thrived. Their cities rose higher than the jungle canopy, filled with plazas, temples, and ball courts. Farmers carved fields out of unforgiving land, producing maize, beans, and squash to feed their growing populations. Art and trade flourished. Jade, obsidian, cacao, and feathers of exotic birds moved across the empire, carried by merchants through rivers and roads. Priests studied the skies and created calendars more precise than those of Europe at the time. The Maya world pulsed with energy, ambition, and faith. But greatness carried its own shadow. The rulers claimed divine blood, demanding loyalty, labor, and sacrifices from their people. Wars between rival cities grew more violent as kings sought glory, captives, and the favor of the gods. In the heart of temples, drums thundered and blades fell, spilling blood to nourish the deities. By the 8th century, the Maya lowlands were at their height. Cities like Tikal, Copan, and Palenque held tens of thousands of people. The jungle was dotted with shining stone temples, and dynasties traced their lineage back centuries. But behind the brilliance, cracks were forming. The soil grew tired. Farmers cleared forests for fields, but overuse left the land barren. Maize harvests shrank, and hunger stalked the villages. Droughts, confirmed by modern climate studies, struck the region again and again, drying rivers and turning lakes into cracked earth. As hunger spread, wars intensified. Neighboring cities turned against each other, raiding for food, water, and captives. Walls and fortifications rose around once open plazas, a sign that trust had withered. Blood that once flowed for gods now flowed for survival. The kings, once seen as divine, began to lose their power. When crops failed and rain did not come, people questioned the priests and rulers who promised to speak with the gods. The grand rituals continued, but faith eroded as the heavens remained silent. By the late 9th century, collapse spread across the Maya heartland. One by one, cities that had stood for centuries were abandoned. At Tikal, the great pyramids that once glimmered above the jungle were left to the vines. At Copan, carved stele depicting mighty kings stood watch over empty plazas. The silence must have been deafening. Markets that once buzzed with traders carrying cacao and jade fell quiet. Ball courts where warriors once competed echoed only with the cries of birds. The voices of thousands faded, leaving behind only the rustle of leaves. But the Maya collapse was not sudden. It was not a single night of fire, nor the fall of one capital. Instead, it was a slow unraveling, decades of drought, war, and despair, until cities were hollowed shells of their former selves. Some survivors fled north and west, seeking refuge in regions less stricken by drought. Others gathered in smaller towns, clinging to old traditions. The grand dynasties of divine kingship were broken, but the people themselves endured. The Spanish conquistadors who arrived in the 16th century did not find a dead civilization. They found scattered Maya communities, still clinging to their language, rituals, and stories. But they no longer commanded vast cities or empires. The age of monumental Maya kings was already over. Even so, the memory of their greatness survived in stone. The pyramids, temples, and carvings that the jungle devoured stood as witnesses to a vanished world. When explorers uncovered them centuries later, they marveled at the beauty of a civilization that had once rivaled the greatest in the world. The rituals of the Maya offer a window into their fears and hopes. Blood sacrifice was not simply cruelty, it was seen as the lifeblood that sustained the cosmos. Kings pierced their own flesh in ceremonies, offering blood to ensure fertility and rain. Captives were offered to the gods atop pyramids, their cries echoing across the jungle before silence claimed them. This spiritual burden may have worsened the collapse. As drought deepened and famine spread, rulers demanded more sacrifices to appease the gods. But the blood did not bring rain, and faith withered. The divine aura of kings turned into suspicion, then into rebellion. Meanwhile, art and writing also faltered. The great carved stelae that recorded dynastic victories became fewer, and the stories of mighty kings ceased to be told. Literacy, once the pride of Maya scribes, declined as cities fell empty. Even memory itself seemed to vanish, as if the past could not bear witness to the ruin. Today, the question of why the Maya collapsed still haunts scholars. Some blame climate change and relentless drought. Others point to endless wars, or to the fragility of a system that relied too heavily on divine kingship. The truth may be that all of these forces collided, creating a storm no society could withstand. But the Maya never truly vanished. Millions of Maya descendants live today in Mexico and Central America, speaking the languages of their ancestors and preserving fragments of ancient traditions. Their survival is proof that while cities may fall, people endure. The ruins scattered across the jungle are not empty stones. They are echoes of lives once lived, of prayers whispered to the gods, of markets filled with voices, of triumph and tragedy. They remind us that greatness does not guarantee survival, and that even the mightiest civilizations can crumble. The Maya collapse is not just an ancient mystery. It is a warning. It speaks of the fragility of human power, of the danger of ignoring nature's limits, and of the silence that follows when the balance between people, gods, and earth is broken. And so, the story ends where it began, in silence. The temples remain, but the voices that once filled them are gone. The jungle reclaimed the cities, and the gods received their final offering, an empire itself.